Hi, I'm Dave Monty and welcome to my video series, Everything Villages. Today is video one of a three-part video series on pricing here in the villages, so stay tuned. As always, a couple of housekeeping items. If you like this video, please hit like. If you like my channel, please subscribe to it. Both those actions help these videos reach more people, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, if you'd like a copy of my free 42-page guide, Buying and Selling a Home in the Villages, or a copy of my free cost of living calculator, which has all the default values for the villages on taxes, utilities, etc. For either one of those or both, you can email me right here at davemontysales@gmail.com, and I'll send you out a copy. I also have about 40 videos up on YouTube, so if you want to check out other videos, I have plenty of them up there. You know, one of the ones that's more popular is Biggest Bang for Your Buck, where we talk about helping clients update homes after they purchase them. So we do the work for you. You get some instant equity in the house. That's not the real goal of this thing. The real goal is, a lot of buyers come into town and they will say, we want to be between the sixes or north of 44, but we want a new home. Well, they're not building any new homes, north of 44, and they haven't for quite a while. So a lot of the homes up here need some updating. We try to provide a newish home for our clients in the location that they desire. I also, mentioned my cost of living calculators, a couple of videos for tutorials. There are two separate real estate markets. It's best that you understand that. Buying sight unseen, homeowners insurance, taxes, bond. Again, there's like about 40 videos up there. This video is more of a nuts and bolts video. We're going to talk about the elements within the home that affect pricing. And we also going to talk about how location affects pricing in the villages. This video, we're mainly talking about why it's important to get the pricing correct and how we arrive at fair market value on homes. But more importantly, it's kind of what you should expect from a listing agent or from a buyer's agent, and how you can spot if they're doing their job or not. All right. Now, number one, pricing is subjective. There are ways to arrive at fair market value for the home, but when you have views and you have pools and curb appeal, all of those things are judgment calls. The fact here in the village is that a home that's nicely decorated will sell for a lot more than a home that has all the same features, same everything, but is not as nicely decorated. The price difference between those homes can be huge. Pricing is pretty subjective, so make sure that your agent shows you the homework, and I'm going to talk about that a lot in this video. I put buyer beware. That a home is what someone is willing to pay for the property. The challenge you have in the villages is that 65% of all homes are paid for with cash. When you have a cash deal, an appraisal is not ordered. The banks are the ones who ordered the appraisals to make sure that their equity is protected. The last thing they want to do is, in a year, you go to sell your house and you're upside down on your loan, and it's probably less expensive for you to walk away from the loan. So they want to make sure that the house is priced correctly. When you pay cash, you won't get that appraisal. So the big thing to get out of this is make sure that your buyer's agent is actually doing a market analysis when you go to make an offer. So what I'm going to do is going to give you an example of what I mean here. I'd say about 6 months ago, I had a client who was looking for a house. She had a pretty healthy budget, and there was a house that was listed for $950,000. When I did a market analysis of all homes in that particular area that had a view like this home had, the market analysis had it come out to $695,000, $700,000. In general, someone was asking about $250,000 more for this house. So I did my market analysis for my client and let her know that. Now, I think I did my job. I said, hey, this is, in my opinion, is only worth about, at most, maybe $750,000. She heard my advice, said, hey, I understand that, that you believe that the house is priced at this, and she was willing to go to $900,000. Okay, so listed at $950,000, she wanted to go to $900,000, and the seller did not take that offer. Okay. So we went and looked for another home for my client. So I kept an eye on this because I was just curious what was happening. And sure enough, a couple of weeks later, the home goes pending. A couple of weeks after that, comes back on the market. Now, my assumption is the fact that someone came in and tried to buy this house with a loan. It probably went to underwriting. The underwriters at the mortgage company ordered an appraisal, and it didn't appraise. So that's my assumption of why it came back on the market, and I could be wrong. Fast forward another month or so, and the house actually sells, and it sells for $920,000. It sold for way more than the house is worth. The people who ended up buying it, what I'm hoping happened is that their agent did exactly what I did, which was, this is how much the house is worth. It's up to you what you want to make an offer on this house. If you really like it, if you really want to pay that price, that's your business. Hopefully that the people who bought this house had that conversation with their buyer's agent. My guess is that didn't happen. My guess is that they went in, they made the offer, and a market analysis was never done by the buyer's agent, which getting pricing correct when you're listing the home is absolutely critical for a couple of reasons. Number one is that when you get it right out of the gate, you're hitting your target audience. That's when most people are viewing the listing. And why is that the case? Well, all these buyers out there who are serious will have a search set up in Zillow, Realtor, the MLS by their agent, wherever they're looking at homes. A home comes on the market, it's within their price range. They get an email that says, hey, this home just came on the market. We thought you might be interested in it. Then all those people come and will view the property. So right out of the gate, if you hit it correctly, you're going to hit the price range of the people that are looking for homes that are most closely aligned with the home that you are listing. And it drops off very quickly. I'm going to just show you some examples. These are homes that I have listed right now. Most views, day 1, day 2. Okay? And we'll talk about what this spike is. Most views, day 1, day 2. And again, we'll talk about what this spike is. But notice that it's, first day or 2 or 3, and then boom, down, and it just falls right off. Okay, so your views drop way down. So it's kind of critical that you get the pricing correct out of the gate. Now, there's some things that we can do, and we're going to talk about, how we get this little spike here and a little bit of strategy that I use with my clients to get that spike. We talked about the most views, but now also let's talk about who's actually viewing those listings, okay? Is it your target audience or is it not your target audience? So in this example, let's assume that you have a fair market value home of about $400,000, but you decide to list it at $425,000. Well, typically people are searching in $25,000 increments. They might have a range of $75,000 to $100,000. So in this case, let's go $350,000, $75,000 to $425,000. Okay, now I listed it here and I missed these people. Okay, these people who are searching for a home that looks like $400,000, they have a $400,000 budget, okay, are searching up in here. And you go to list a home that has a fair market value of $400,000 and you miss this particular group of people. Okay, now let's see what happens when you kind of go into that next higher bucket per se. Now, they're going to be buckets all the way around, but when you price it too high and what you're doing is you're competing against homes that are worth $435,000 versus homes that are worth $400,000. And in the worst case, you're at the bottom of this bucket and you're trying to compete against homes that are $500,000. Now, what do I mean by compete when they're just looking at the views at the beginning? Well, for the most part, people will pull up the listing and flip through pictures real quickly and say, yeah, this one looks really nice and I want to go take a look at it. But if I got a $400,000 home that looks one way and I'm competing against a house that's $100,000 more and I'm comparing the two, I'm going to go look at the nicer one that has the nicer pictures versus the one that's not as nice. Okay, so it is critical that you get the price right. So you hit your target audience and you also are hitting when people are viewing it the most. Okay. Now let's talk about what happens if you get it wrong or possibly use this as a strategy on this particular slide. You initially priced the home too low. It's happening right now. There's a house I've been called on 4 times by buyers in the last 2 days. It went under contract within hours, but they've kept it up because they're taking backup offers. I don't know why that's the case, but people keep calling me about it. I'm saying, it's already under contract. It's rare that deals fall through here. If it comes back on the market, we'll go take a look at it. But it was so underpriced that just 4 of my clients, and there's 1,200 agents in the villages. So that listing is getting a lot of attention right now. I have no idea what it's under contract for. So ideally in that situation, if you price it really low, what I would do from a listing agent standpoint, I'd price it really low and say, we're taking bids for a week. This particular listing agent just took the first offer or 2. And the reason I do that is because now what I want to do is I want to try to create a multiple offer situation. But the risk you run is you put it really low and then someone comes in and makes an offer and you accept it and it's a little bit below fair market value. It's much, they offered much more than what the house is listed for. You go ahead and take that offer. But ideally what you're trying to do is look for possible multiple offers. Okay, but you run the risk of it selling below market value. Now what happens if you list it too high? Often people who list their homes too high end up taking well below fair market value for their home because they get worn down over time. You put it on the market, you have an initial price drop, another price drop, another price drop. A few months go by and someone comes in and gives you a lowball offer and you just go, I'll take it. You sell your home below fair market value and it took you forever to sell it. Getting price right is not only critical to get the right audience, but it's also critical from a psychological standpoint because, like I said, most sellers will get beat up over time. And then when a good offer finally comes in or even a bad offer finally comes in, they end up taking it. Ideally, this is what you want to have happen. You want to list above fair market value. You want to give yourself a little bit of room to negotiate. And hopefully what will happen is you negotiate just above fair market value. You hit the right audience. You have the right number of showings. And then the offers come in within days or weeks versus months if you listed it too high. All right. So let's talk about how you price homes. Okay, and this is not how you price homes. Happy years, I call this. What do I mean by happy years? We hear what we want to hear. If I'm talking to a buyer and I say, hey, this home's priced between $425 and $450, the buyer hears $425. If I go to a listing client and say we should list this house between $425 and $450, the listing client hears $450. Okay, so people hear what they want to hear. But I get this almost on every listing appointment. Well, the house down the street sold for this, so my house should get the same. That house down the street is stucco and yours is vinyl. The house down the street is decorated much nicer than your house. I never say that, but there's a lot of factors that it can affect pricing. You can't just point at one house and say, that is how I want to price my house. And it's not just listing clients. I don't know how many conversations I had with realtors when we're going in. I'm going, will you show me how you did your market analysis? Because I'm nowhere close to what you're asking for this price. Well, there was a house on the other side of the villages that sold for this much. And I was kind of taken aback and the first time I heard that. And I said, well, and you don't want to be condescending to other agents, but in my mind, I'm going, that's not how you do a market analysis. You do a market analysis on several homes. It's a market analysis, not a one house analysis. Okay, so what is going on in the market on an overhaul? And I'm going to show you how we do it. So I'm going to show you how you do a market analysis. Personally, I like to do it manually, okay, because I believe that my view of the markets can be better than the automated tools. A lot of agents will rely on the automated tools, but how does the automated tool know how nice that view is, how well it's decorated, what upgrades are in the house? Typically, they're using price per square foot values that are in the general area within one zip code when prices vary greatly within the villages depending on where you are. So I like to do it manually, but then I do take a look with a couple of automated tools to make sure that I'm in the ballpark a little bit to double check my own work, and then I average everything together. Okay, but let's show you how you would do it manually. First thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your subject property, and I'm going to search homes that are as close to possible as this subject property. Close in size. Does it have vinyl? Does it have stucco? Does it have a view? Does it have a pool? Some of the bigger things that will affect the price of the home. Okay. I confine the search to the immediate vicinity around this home. So I've got locations about the same, size of the home is about the same, features are about the same. Now I need to go in and make manual adjustments to make my comparable properties look like the subject property. So I never make changes to the subject property because I'm trying to figure out what that price is. I don't know this price yet. I know the prices of these. Now in this case, I'm going to take a look at compare my subject property to this comparable property. I need to make changes to this comparable property to match my subject property. In this case, this house is smaller. So what I need to do is I need to increase the size of the house. Or what would I increase the price to match the size of the house? As an example, if this house is 200 square feet more and homes are going for $250 per square foot, I'm going to add $50,000 to the price of the house to match the size of this house. Now I'm missing a golf cart garage. Right here, I'm missing a golf cart garage. So I need to add in the price of a golf cart garage. Now I'm going to go to the second home and do the same thing. Second home, in this case, what do I see? Well, here's my beautiful curb appeal hardscape in here. So you get some hardscape in here. So, and you don't have it over here. So my comparable property, I start with a price, and I need to subtract out this hardscape by price. But it doesn't have a golf cart garage. So I need to add in a golf cart garage as an example. And you're going to step through all the homes and look at many different variables. Okay, I'm just using some of the bigger ones that I can see from the outside of the house. Right? Now I'm going to get to the third house. And pretty much the only difference in this particular case is the fact that this is a much bigger house, so I need to make it smaller, right? This is 200 square feet more. At $250 a square foot, I need to subtract $50,000 from the price of that house. I like to do this for about 10 to 15 homes. Anything more then becomes a little bit more redundant. Anything less, then you don't have as many data points. Every once in a while, we'll be in a section of the villages where something hasn't sold in a long time, and we don't have many data points. So I'll actually dig into tax records and call one of my buddies over at the villages and ask him if he's got any comparable properties in the area and what they sold for. Let me show you the worksheet that I use and how you arrive at a price. This is the worksheet that I use when I meet with a listing client. Sometimes it confuses people. But I like to show my work. I want to show that, that I took some care and diligence in trying to set the price. By the way, not just listing clients. I do this when any one of my buyers wants to make an offer on a house. I will do a full market analysis to make sure that we're in the ballpark on pricing. And I can use it for negotiation purposes. In other words, my analysis came out way less than what the home is listed for. I have a little bit of leverage to go ahead and negotiate the price. If the price of the home comes up well above what they're asking, it will reassure my buyer that they're getting a good deal on this particular home. We'll still try to negotiate it. Okay, but in general, I'll let them know, hey, this is a fantastic deal or this is a fair deal as it is, but let's go ahead and try to negotiate. Okay, so the first thing that I do, like we talked about before, is I'm going to search homes that are as similar as possible to my subject property. Okay, so in this case, I searched a home that was vinyl. I searched the location, the immediate vicinity of where this home is. This home had a view, so I searched homes with a view, and this home did not have a pool, so I took out the pool. And those are some of the bigger things. Now, as far as a golf cart garage is concerned, it's pretty difficult to search just golf cart garages, but if my subject property has one or doesn't have one, it's pretty easy to see from the very first picture that you look at whether you're going to add one in or take one out. My tool automatically will adjust for the square footage. So I take a look here. There's my square footage of my subject property is 1525. And I come down here and this one's 1527. I take the average price per square foot and multiply it by 2 square feet, and it's a $500 difference. These houses down here are much bigger, and you'll see that the difference in square footage is much bigger, so the price drop is much bigger here. This particular house is smaller, So I need to add $10,000 to make the subject property the same size as this property here. Then I'm going to come in and make changes to the property based on internal or looking at the picture. So I go through the pictures and go, you know what? The house that we have has much better landscaping these homes, and I make a judgment call and say, okay, we need to add 10,000 or internal features. What I'm assuming is that Barrymore, which I know was kind of really nice, had a lot of updates on the inside, decorated very nicely, and much better than the rest of the home. So I added some very significant pricing because there is a huge difference between how well a house, if a house shows really nicely versus needing updating. Then everything averages out. So I come up with an average price of about $495. And then I have a low range of $443 and then a high range of $530. Then, like I said earlier, I take a couple of the automated tools that we have access to. This is the one through our MLS. This is the one that is from the National Association of Realtors. And they come up with different pricing, and then I tend to average it in. So in this case, they came in much higher than I did. I don't know why, okay, but this case it did. So instead of fighting against it, I just bring these values in and I average it out, and it brought up my value to $530. So in this case, we'd probably want to list this house maybe for $540 and hope for $530, $520 in that type of price range. The last thing to note, especially if you're looking to list your home, this is a math problem. If any agent comes into your house and says, we are going to list it at X, kick them out, okay? Because they need to understand your circumstances. In other words, I don't come in with $530. I come in, we believe we can price this house between $491 and $530. Really what I need to do is understand the selling client's motivation. Do they need to maximize the money coming out of the house? Are they taking a shot in the dark? Are they trying to put a house on the market for $100,000 more than it's worth, and hopefully someone with cash and a buyer's agent who's not protecting their interest comes in and makes them an offer? Do they need to sell quickly because they want to buy another house, but they still need a little bit of the proceeds from this home? Do they want to sell quickly or not? So it's a conversation. So the list price is a function of the math as well as a function of the circumstances of the listing client. So again, if an agent comes in and says, this is the list price, they're not doing their job. Their job is to understand what your requirements are, understand your timing and what you're trying to get done, and then price accordingly. We talked about this a little bit. The market will correct pricing. And what do I mean by that? Let's go back up to here. And this is what I mean. If you price it too low, you might have multiple offers and it will drag the price up. Okay? If you price it too high, it'll stay on the market for a long time and it will drag the price down. Okay? So the market will tend to pull pricing towards fair market value. That's if you get it wrong. Now, we just said that the market will correct pricing, and in this case, we're assuming that we have the price that is too high. One of the biggest levers you can pull to increase views is going to be by dropping the price. We market homes, push it on Facebook, or I push it on YouTube, or we put an ad in the newspaper. You don't see any spikes. You don't increase the views. Serious buyers are set up in the MLS, on Zillow, on Realtor, and they're watching online. Serious buyers are working with an agent. So I got a buyer that's coming into town, and they 90% of the time leave it up to me to look at the houses. I'm going to go do a search when I'm going to look at that specific house. But right from the beginning, anyone who has automatic searches set up, that's when you hit it. So the biggest lever I can pull is price drop. It's not necessarily marketing the home. It really is the price drop. Now I have two different price drops here on this particular example. The first type of drop I like to talk about is called a bucket drop. If you look at Zillow or Realtor or even in the MLS, the pricing filters tend to be at the $25,000 mark. You can put in very granular pricing for your filter, but most people just come in and go, okay, they scroll down the list and go, I'm going to search from, in this case, I'm going to search from 475 up to 575. So what I'm talking about is I'm dropping from one bucket to another bucket here. So my original price is $535. It's in between the $525 limit and the $550 limit. This first drop, we dropped it down to the next bucket, right on the bucket mark. So anyone now that's searching up to 525 will now see it. Okay, and that's probably these people right here. I'm going to compare it to this one. So you probably, when you drop a full bucket, a couple things happen. The more expensive the home, the less people are looking at the home. The less expensive homes have more people looking at them. So when I drop from one bucket to the other, I got a whole different audience that might be looking at this product. So it's up here. And then I'm also hitting the price reduction list. And a lot of people keep an eye on the price reduction list. And how do I know that? Well, this little spike here. So what did we do here? We did what I call a micro drop. We went from that price that was $525, and now we dropped it to $524. Didn't change any intervals between $25,000. I'm still between the $500,000 and the $525,000 bucket, but only dropped it $1,000. And look what happens here. Same thing here. Right here, we did a micro drop. We dropped it from $425 to $424, just $1,000 difference. We had more showings than we did when it first hit the market. So what this tells me is that I had a certain number of people who were, from 425 to 450 or from 400 to 425, that type of bucket. But I probably have more people that are taking a look at that price reduction list. Okay, so we went from 12 views up to 14 views. Not a huge difference, but just showing that you just drop by 1,000. Now, that's a strategy that I will use. If we're pretty close to the bottom of a bucket, and that first price drop, we might ask to drop it down into the next bucket. But if I'm high in a bucket, I'm not going to drop it all the way down to the next one. I'm just going to do $1,000 drops because, hit that price reduction list, get more views. Hit that price reduction list, get more views. A little bit of a strategy here rather than just going, okay, the house is priced too much. What do you think we should drop it? Well, let's drop it $25,000. Let's drop it $50,000. Have a little bit of a strategy, and this is what I like to do. So that's the conclusion of the video. Let me summarize this for you. It is critical to get your prices correct out of the gate, because that's when you get the most views from people who are searching for that priced home. If you get it wrong, the home will either stay on the market too long or you'll leave money on the table. The market will correct itself. If it's too high, the prices will come down. If you go way too low, you might have multiple offers, which will drag it up towards fair market value. The big things to take out of this, though, if you're buying a home, make sure that your buying agent shows you market analysis that's manually done, okay? Because those are going to be, in my opinion, the most accurate. If you're going to list a home and an agent comes in and tells you what the list price should be wary of that. Make sure they're having the conversation and that price is based not just on their math, but also on your circumstances. As always, if you'd like a copy of my free 42-page guide, buying and selling a home in the villages, or my cost of living calculator, you can email me right here at davemontysales@gmail.com and I'll send you out your copy. I hope you found this video informative. I hope to see you around the villages. Take care.